Every week, your real estate voice covers great information about the housing market and one of your largest assets, your home. Barb, what are we covering today?
Well, Richard, I'm excited about today's show just because I get a lot of these questions a lot when I meet with home sellers and home buyers. And I wanted to kind of just deep dive into some of these topics so it makes more sense. So, one of the more common, sorry, one of the more common questions I get is now a good time to sell a house in Colorado? What we've seen lately is a big surge of inventory. The interest rates are pretty much steady as they go. So is this a good time or should we wait? And I think it's a good discussion simply because I feel like it's not going to take much of a change in interest rates for the buyers to come out in force. And the market's actually doing pretty well from what I could tell from my deep statistical dive this morning. So we'll get into that a little bit. The second topic is covers the top reasons why a Colorado house is not selling, and we're going to cover what you can do to fix it because most people assume you put the house on the market and it's kind of become this very fast-paced society. They expect instant gratification. But the truth is, the average days on market right now is hovering about 77 days for most of the counties along the Front Range. So that's a few months. It is not as much of a seller's market as it has been back in 2022 and maybe the beginning of 2023. However, right now, it's still a really good market, but you have to be a little bit more patient and not necessarily expect instant results. The third topic is going to be about how to receive the highest price when selling your home. So the traditional thought process is I can just price it high and build in negotiating room. But that's a huge mistake because these days the buyers are very, very well educated about what represents market value. The buyers are very focused in on what they're looking for, and they know everything that's on the market. They know everything that's new on the market. They could tell right away if it's overpriced or underpriced. So it's absolutely critical that you position the home to get the most money. And it's not by pricing it high for negotiating room. And then the third topic is what is the best strategy to sell a house right now? And as always, I love talking about my hot new listings. Richard?
Now, Barb, many people are wondering if they should wait to sell their home or whether they ought to go ahead and sell now. Is now a good time to sell a home or should people just wait?
Well, I always think the summer is a great time. If you go back and you look at the statistics, and a lot of these, like the MLS and other statistical providers, will provide graphs on when are most of the sales taking place, and it always looks very much like a bell curve, kind of light in the early winter, kind of lighter in the late fall, going into December, but a pretty good bell curve going across spring and summer and fall. We do sell homes year round, but what I find is in the winter time and the late fall, that time of year, there are fewer homes. So it could be good for a home seller because you have fewer homes to compete with. The people that are moving definitely need to move. But in the summertime, you have a lot more homes on the market, more competition, but also more choices for buyers. Right now, we're working with a couple of folks that are moving to another home in the market. And that's their question. Should we wait till next spring? Maybe we'll get a few more percentage points out of the house if we wait for that time of year. Possibly, but all the stars are looking like the rates may come down within the next 8 to 10 months. And if that happens, I think the buyers are going to come out in force and you're going to end up paying more for the next house that you buy. There's a lot of pressure right now, a lot of talk about the Fed and what he's doing or not doing. And it probably has the most impact on the housing market and other ways to get financing for different things. So, but at the end of the day, if you're a home buyer and you wait, the problem is when that time comes, all these buyers that have been sitting on the sidelines are going to come out and you're going to have to compete with them. To me, it's probably less expensive and easier to get the right home now and then refinance when the rates go down. So I would say, yes, this is a great time. In the summertime, homes look so much prettier this time of year because the grass is green and the leaves are out and it doesn't look, wintry. So I really feel like there is quite a bit of pent up demand for home buyers right now. They're just sitting on the sidelines. And the current stats are starting to indicate we're still kind of in a slight seller's market. The median list price has ticked up a little bit just in the past week, actually, but the new homes coming on the market are priced a little bit less. So, as a home seller, if you're sitting on the market and it's not moving, you need to take a look at your competition on a regular basis. Right now, the average days on market in El Paso County have gone up to 77 days. What that represents is, on average, from the date that a home goes on the market to the date that it goes under contract, not when it closes, but goes under contract, is 77 days. So that's, 2.5 months. It's still a pretty strong market. For me, the most striking number is 49% of those home sellers had to decrease their price. In other words, they came out and were looking at something to say, well, I want this much, my home is worth this much for whatever reason. And then they go on the market and they find it's not working. So they're having, half of them are having to lower their price. So you're always going to get the most money if you price what I call realistically versus optimistically. Douglas County, another area where the median price is actually pretty high. In my opinion, it's high. It's 845,000. And we're seeing that market to be relatively flat, a little bit more days on market, up to 76, I think that is. But even more people up there have reduced their price. That's up to 58%, and inventory is relatively stable. Places like Teller County, which really doesn't have a ton of inventory, but people love going up there in the summer. It's so pretty in the summer. Their prices are ticking up just a little bit. Average days on market longer, though, 108 days. And over half of those sellers are reducing their price while the inventory is rising across the summer. Now, Pueblo is a very interesting area. The prices are lower, definitely, in Pueblo County. So we saw the prices go up and then come down. Now they're going back up again. Fewer people are reducing their prices, but the inventory definitely is rising, just like all the rest of them. So if you look at, in general, what has happened with home values, it pretty much has been relatively slightly up, but not exponentially, not like 5 or 10%, in just 1 year. It's just a few percentage points. So my name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And we're talking about whether or not right now is a good time to sell. And when we come back, we're going to get into a little bit more of those graphs and talk about some predictive indicators about this market. If you are thinking of making a move, I have over 28,210 buyers in waiting just on my little website. And typically with that, along with some other marketing that I'm doing, I can tap into over 800 buyers that are a high match for any home. And I'd be happy to show that to you if you'd like to have us come over and give you a free in-home consultation on what to do, what not to do to get your house ready for sale, go over all the closing costs and show you how much you put in your pocket when it sells. Richard?
Barb, we're discussing whether this is a good time to sell a house here in Colorado. What are some future indicators that you're seeing right now?
Well, one of the things that we're seeing is, at least I'm seeing, is that it has been an actual uptick in the number of people buying homes. At the same time, there's a pretty substantial uptick in the number of available homes on the market right now. If you look at these stats, the average days on market just a little bit longer than it was a year ago, but a really good leading indicator about what's happening and what could be happening in the future is that pending sales are actually up pretty good by 35%. And at the same time, inventory, that means the number of available homes, is up by 32%. So I think the demand is there. And I heard from one of the trainings that I sat on last week that right now mortgage applications are up by over 11%, but not so many people are actually making offers. It's like they're kind of waiting for the rates to come down. And I personally think that's a mistake. The rates have been really, really flat. 30-year fixed conventional, 6.78. VA and FHA hovering about 6.3, but 6 1/3 essentially. So if you are thinking of making a move, that's part of what we do is we sit down, we go over all the numbers, we show you what the competition is, we show you what the similar sales are, we give you a really good idea what your home will sell for, what range, and how much you'll put in your pocket when it sells, as well as how we attract buyers to your house. To find that out, if you are thinking of making a move in the next 3 to 6 months, give us a call at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold, Guaranteed Realty. And if you are thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing the top reasons that a Colorado house is not selling and what you can do to fix it. Barb's got that next.